She told me she needed the room for a surprise. I stood in the hallway of our apartment with a small box in my coat pocket and a dumb, hopeful smile on my face. 10 years married. I was proud of that. No cheating, no scandals, no major fights. At least, that's what I believed. I thought we built something rare. We've been through so much, she said the night before, as we curled up watching an old movie we used to love when we were broke and living in a one-bedroom walk-up. Let me take care of this anniversary. I want to do something special for you. So I said sure. She kicked me out for a few hours so she could set up. I took a walk around downtown, browsed through a record shop, killed time sipping coffee. I kept checking the box in my coat pocket, new watch, engraved on the back. 10 years. Still us. At 8:37 p.m., she texted. Almost ready. Come up in 10. That's when everything cracked. Because I was already upstairs. I had just stepped off the elevator early, too eager, I guess, and I heard her laugh. Not on speakerphone. Not a video. A full, warm, in-person laugh. Then another voice, low male. I froze. I wish I could tell you I barged in right then and caught them. But I didn't. I stood there like an idiot, listening, heart pounding. I heard glasses clink. I heard her say, just 5 more minutes. I left without knocking. I didn't know what to do. I walked around the block twice. Tried to convince myself I'd imagined it. That it was a cousin, or a surprise friend, or maybe she'd hired a chef. But something in my gut, something old and primal, knew better. So I called our neighbor, Mrs. Grant. She's 72 and basically lives on her balcony. Hey, I said. Any chance you saw someone go into our place earlier? Long pause. Oh. You mean the man with the flowers, she said cheerfully. He went in about an hour ago. I didn't go back upstairs. Instead, I sat in my car, parked across the street from our building, with the box still in my pocket. I watched the windows of our apartment. The living room lights flickered off and on. Shadows moved behind the curtains. I tried to breathe slow, calm myself, tell myself I didn't know anything for sure. 10 years. 10 years. And she invited another man in on our anniversary. After about 20 minutes, I saw him. A tall guy, early 40s maybe, fit, clean cut. I recognized him vaguely. Then it clicked. He was from her gym. I'd seen him before when I'd pick her up. Always too friendly. The guy who touched her arm when he laughed. The one who remembered our dog's name. He came out the front door with no urgency, like he had all the time in the world. Still smiling. He didn't even look around, just strolled to a silver Lexus, got in, and drove off. I waited another 10 minutes before heading back in. The apartment smelled like vanilla candles and red wine. She was in the kitchen, in a black dress I hadn't seen before. Her hair done up, lipstick fresh. She smiled when she saw me. There you are, she said. You're late. I looked around. No extra glasses. No second plate. No sign of him. I came early, I said. Heard you laughing with someone. Her smile didn't flinch. I was watching something on my phone. Mrs. Grant said a man came in. That made her blink. Wait, what? I repeated it, slower. Her face stayed neutral for a beat too long. That's crazy, she said. Nobody came in. She must have seen something else. The lies were so smooth it made my stomach turn. But I didn't fight her. I nodded. Ate the meal she'd made, opened the bottle of wine, said thank you when she gave me a card. I didn't give her the watch. I waited. That night, I told her I was exhausted. Slept on the couch. She barely noticed. The next day, I made my plan. I didn't confront her again after that night. I knew if I pressed too soon, she'd bury it. She'd get rid of the evidence, change her passwords, maybe even twist the story to make me the paranoid one. So I played it calm. Normal. Like everything was fine. But every free moment I had, I was digging. First, I started with her phone, not directly. I knew she'd never let it out of her sight. But our phone plan was under my name. I checked her activity logs. There it was. Multiple long calls over the last few weeks, all to a number not saved in her contacts. Some calls at 11 p.m., others while I was at work. Then I checked our shared calendar. She'd been getting massages every other Thursday at 6 p.m., same excuse every time. I just need to relax. But the place she claimed to go to? I called. They hadn't seen her since March. It was November. I installed a small camera in the living room, just a USB charger, one of those motion-activated kinds. I told myself I needed real proof, not just suspicion. It took a week. The following Thursday, I was working late. She didn't even ask why. Around 7:12 p.m., the camera activated. I watched the footage in my office that night. She came in smiling, carrying takeout. 10 minutes later, he walked in. Same guy, gym guy. They didn't kiss, not in the footage I had. But the way she looked at him, touched his wrist when she handed him the food. It was enough. And he was comfortable, like this wasn't new. I saved the video to a secure drive, copied it to a USB, backed it up to the cloud under a hidden account. Now came the hard part, finding a lawyer. One who wouldn't just help me file divorce papers, but who would help me win. See, what she didn't know yet is that a few years ago, I'd signed on as a co-owner in her small business. A bakery we started with some of my inheritance. My name was on everything. Lease, licensing, tax forms. And she had been pulling money from it. More than what she was paying herself. More than what made sense. If I could prove adultery and financial misconduct, she'd lose it all. The lawyer I hired, Melissa Cantor, was sharp, no nonsense, and exactly the kind of person you want when your life is crumbling and you need someone to build the scaffolding. You're not here to get even, she told me the first day. You're here to protect what's yours. And if she made the mistake of cheating on the man who holds half the keys to her business, then we'll use that smartly. I gave her the video, the phone records, the credit card statements. She watched everything with a cool detachment, nodding, scribbling notes. This is enough to open a case, she said. But it gets stronger if you can prove she used joint funds during the affair. Hotel receipts, gifts, even mileage, if she expensed it through the business. That's when the second betrayal unraveled. I dug into our business accounting software. She wasn't very careful. Never thought I'd look twice at the numbers because I handled the marketing and front end while she did the bookkeeping. But buried inside the expense folders were things that didn't fit. $482 at a boutique hotel in the city. $764 vendor supplies from a wine merchant that didn't deliver to us. Multiple $100 withdrawals marked as cash tips for staff on days when no one was working. And then I found a receipt with both their names. A thank you package from a luxury car rental place with a note that read, "To the best couple this weekend. Enjoy." I gave all of it to Melissa. She just smiled, almost grimly. Now it's not just a divorce, she said. It's a case of marital misconduct with financial fraud. She's in real trouble. I wasn't sure how to feel. Vindicated, yeah, but also sick. I still woke up next to her. Ate dinner across from her. She smiled like nothing had changed. And the worst part? She still tried to kiss me goodnight. It happened the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. She was setting the table, folding the napkins just the way her mom taught her. I was sitting on the couch, holding a thick manila envelope. Inside were printed copies of everything. Photos, logs, receipts, the lawyer's preliminary motion. She turned to ask if I wanted red or white with dinner. That's when I said it. I know. She looked up. Know what? That you've been sleeping with the guy from your gym. That you've been lying to me. Stealing from our business. Faking receipts. I know all of it. Her face dropped. Just for a second. Then she laughed. Too loud. Too forced. What are you even talking about? She asked, setting the wine bottle down. Have you lost your mind? I didn't respond. Just held up the envelope and tossed it on the table between us. She stared at it like it was a dead rat. When she opened it, I watched the color drain from her face. Her hands trembled slightly as she flipped through the pages. The screenshots, the line items, the picture of her and him checking into the hotel. And then the mask really came off. You've been spying on me, she snapped, voice rising. You went through my private messages? Planted cameras? What kind of sick, controlling? You cheated on our anniversary, I said calmly. You brought him into our home, our bed, and you paid for it using the bakery I helped build. Her jaw tightened. You don't know what it's like to feel ignored. You've been emotionally distant for months. I didn't mean for it to happen, but he listened. He made me feel like I mattered. You mean the guy with a Lexus and flowers? I said, yeah. He seems real soulful. That's when she lost it. She threw the envelope at me, screamed something about how I'd always looked down on her, how I was never the man she really wanted, how he made her feel like a queen. And in that moment, something inside me just shut off. It wasn't heartbreak. It wasn't even rage. It was relief. I saw her for what she really was. No more pretending. I'm filing for divorce, I told her. My lawyer already has everything, including your misuse of business funds. If you want to keep anything, your car, your apartment, your little kingdom, you'll agree to the terms. She stared at me. Then quietly, with venom. You'll regret this. 3 days later, she hired a lawyer. A loud one. His name was Chad Donner. Yes, really, and he came out swinging like he was auditioning for a courtroom drama. Her side filed a motion accusing me of digital surveillance without consent, emotional coercion, and, get this, neglect of marital intimacy. Melissa rolled her eyes at every page. He's trying to flip the narrative, she said. Standard move. Throw enough dirt and hope some sticks. But the truth was on our side. Melissa drafted a detailed response, line-by-line refutation, receipts showing she had misappropriated over $14,000 in bakery expenses, evidence she'd funneled part of that into trips and gifts for her lover. We attached the footage, the text logs, the matching date stamps from the bank withdrawals and the hotel check-ins. Then came the killer blow, a forensic audit. Melissa brought in a retired IRS accountant to comb through the bakery's books. What he found made my blood run cold. She'd not only pulled money for her affair, she'd been skimming cash deposits for over a year. Thousands gone. Unaccounted for. When the numbers were laid out, it looked less like a betrayal and more like embezzlement. That's not just cheating, the accountant said. That's a crime. We filed an amended motion. Now it wasn't just divorce and business division, it was a civil suit for damages. Melissa also flagged the case to the state's Department of Revenue. If they wanted to audit her for tax fraud, well, that wasn't our concern anymore. When the court date was finally set, I saw her for the first time in 3 weeks. She wore a white blouse, soft makeup, pearl earrings, like she was still trying to play the grieving wife. But her eyes gave her away. Cold. Calculating. Like she was already planning how to spin this to her friends. As we walked into the courtroom, she leaned toward me and hissed, I hope this makes you feel like a man. I didn't answer. I just handed my lawyer a final stack of documentation. It was the signed witness statement from our old employee, her former assistant baker, who testified that she'd watched my wife falsify business records and pocket customer cash. Melissa smiled as she read it. This is going to be very short, she whispered. The hearing started at 9 a.m. on a gray Tuesday in January. There were only about 10 people in the gallery, most of them strangers waiting for their own cases. But to me, it felt like the world was watching. I sat next to Melissa, feeling both locked in and oddly numb. She sat across from us at the petitioner's table, flanked by Chad Donner in a pinstripe suit 2 sizes too small and a yellow legal pad he never looked at. Her expression was flat, like she believed none of this could possibly touch her. The judge was a middle-aged woman with glasses on a chain and no patience for drama. Perfect. Donner went first. He painted me as a cold husband, obsessed with work, emotionally unavailable. He suggested I had invaded her privacy, perhaps illegally, that I had weaponized our finances. He called the affair an unfortunate emotional entanglement during a period of marital breakdown. Melissa didn't interrupt once. Then it was our turn. She stood calmly and opened with just one sentence. Your Honor, we are prepared to prove a pattern of deceit, financial misconduct, and marital infidelity, with clear documentation and witness testimony. The next hour unfolded like a slow, steady rain. First came the bank statements. Every charge cross-referenced to a personal affair. Then the camera footage. The judge watched it stone-faced. Then the employee's statement. My wife shifted in her seat when that was read aloud. Then Melissa dropped the audit results with printed exhibits. And that was when the tension broke. Donner stood, objected, claimed the audit was irrelevant to the marital breakdown. Counsel, the judge said, your client is being accused of laundering funds through a jointly owned business. I'd say that's very relevant. My wife went pale. The final blow came when Melissa introduced the printout of texts we'd subpoenaed from the gym guy's phone. He didn't show up to testify, smart move, but the content was damning. In one message, dated 3 days after our anniversary, he texted, if he finds out we used his money for the hotel, he's going to lose it. Game. Set. Match. The judge called for a short recess before delivering her ruling. I stepped into the hallway, hands shaking a little, not from nerves anymore, but from the adrenaline of knowing we'd laid everything bare. I didn't look at her as she walked past me, but I could feel her glance. Not remorseful, not scared, just angry. Like she still believed this was something being done to her, not the result of her own actions. Back in the courtroom, we all took our seats. The judge didn't waste time. She addressed the court plainly, like a teacher reading from a gray book. In the matter of marital misconduct, I find substantial evidence of infidelity and financial deceit. The respondent, Mrs. Brooks, used business assets for personal gain in a way that violated the legal and fiduciary obligations owed to her spouse. I didn't even realize I was holding my breath. The court awards Mr. Brooks full ownership of the business, contingent upon a financial valuation. Mrs. Brooks will receive a reduced settlement of 18% of the remaining liquid assets, pending review for potential tax liabilities. She is also ordered to reimburse $13,782 in misappropriated funds, with monthly payments commencing next quarter. Then came the personal side. Custody is not in question, the judge added, since we had no children, but she did make it clear. The petitioner will vacate the marital residence within 14 days. No alimony is awarded. My wife stared straight ahead. No tears. Just frozen. The judge looked at her one last time. You had a partner. A business. A future. You betrayed all three. This ruling reflects that. With a sharp rap of the gavel, it was over. Outside the courtroom, she finally broke the silence. You think you won? She said, her voice low and trembling. This is going to haunt you. You'll never trust anyone again. I turned to her and said what I'd wanted to say for months. No, I'll just never trust you again. She left 2 days early. Didn't even pack most of her things. Just threw some clothes into suitcases, swept her makeup off the counter into a tote bag, and slammed the door like she was making some kind of point. I watched from the living room window as she struggled to fit everything into the back of her car. She didn't look up once. Later that evening, I found a note on the kitchen counter. It wasn't an apology. Not even close. You got what you wanted. I hope it makes you feel powerful. Just remember, you were never enough for me. You were just the safe choice. No name. No signature. Just bitterness. I sat there for a long time reading that line over and over. Not because it hurt, but because it finally made everything click. She never wanted safety. She wanted worship. She wanted someone to bend, and when I didn't, when I dared to protect what we built, she turned venomous. I didn't reply. I just put the note in a drawer and went to the bakery the next morning. The place was quiet. My assistant manager, Jill, had already started prepping. She gave me a look, half pity, half relief, and said, So, she's really gone? Yeah, I said. It's just me now. We cleaned up the books over the next few weeks. Streamlined everything. I took her name off the signage, updated the website, and rebranded under a new logo. The regulars came in and asked, tentatively, is she okay? I kept it short. She won't be working here anymore. What amazed me most was how normal life started to feel again. No more cold silences. No more fake smiles at dinner. No more wondering who she was texting when she went out for coffee. I started sleeping through the night again. And one morning, I finally pulled that box out of the drawer, the one I'd meant to give her on our anniversary. The watch. I kept it. I wear it every day now, not because it reminds me of her, but because of what it says on the back. 10 years. Still us. The us now? It's just me. And that's enough. It's been 6 months since the judge handed down the ruling. In that time, a lot of things have changed, but not in the dramatic, movie ending kind of way. Just small, steady shifts that added up. My apartment feels bigger, but not empty. I rearranged the furniture, painted the bedroom, donated her leftover clothes to a shelter without a second thought. The business is doing better than ever. We started a weekend brunch line and it took off. We're busier than we were even during the holiday seasons when she and I ran it together. Some days I catch myself smiling for no reason, elbow deep in flour, music playing in the back kitchen. I remember what it felt like to enjoy my own company. I've seen her around town once or twice, always from a distance. Once outside a grocery store, another time driving past the gym, his gym. I don't know if they're still together. I don't care. What mattered was the courtroom. That moment when everything was exposed. When the lies, the manipulation, the selfishness, it all came into the light. And she couldn't spin it anymore. She thought she could cheat, lie, and still come out ahead. She thought I'd roll over. Maybe I had given her every reason to believe I would. I used to give her the benefit of the doubt. Every time. Every small red flag. Every deflection. Every "you're overreacting." I gave her so much room to be better, to fix it. But she never wanted to fix anything. She wanted control. And when she lost it, she fell apart. A few friends have asked if I'd ever consider dating again. Honestly, I don't know. I'm not bitter. I'm not broken. I just value peace now. Trust is a currency I won't spend lightly anymore. And if someone comes into my life, they'll have to earn it. The comments people left on the case, because somehow the transcripts made their way into a few legal forums online, were brutal. People called her manipulative, selfish, emotionally abusive. One guy said, "I don't usually say this, but she deserved every single consequence she got." And you know what? He wasn't wrong. This wasn't just about the cheating. It was the disgusting entitlement. The lies on top of lies. The arrogance of thinking she could still come out the hero in a story she'd already ruined. But I came out of it clean. Stronger. Smarter. And when I look at that watch on my wrist, 10 years. Still us. I finally understand who the us really was. It was the version of me who never gave up, who stood in court and didn't flinch, who watched the truth burn and didn't walk away from the fire. It was the man I used to be, and the one I'm becoming again.